Hi everybody, welcome back to a new video. This time I want to try a new video format where I present you with a variety of recent news. Maybe that way I will be able to produce more content more regularly, so that would be very nice indeed. And without further delay, let's begin. NASA has announced the three winners of its recent contract awards for commercial low Earth orbit destinations. NanoRacks with its Starlab proposal, Blue Origin with its Orbital Reef, and Northrop Grumman also planning to build their private space station. NanoRacks won the largest individual award with $160 million, while Blue Origin and Northrop Grumman received $130 million and $125.6 million respectively. Since NASA plans on retiring the International Space Station sometime in the future, the Commercial Low Earth Orbit Destinations program represents an effort to increasingly tap into the capabilities of private companies to achieve their goals in space. And this comes as no surprise, given how much the agency has benefited in the past by partnering up with private companies such as United Launch Alliance or SpaceX. Speaking of which, SpaceX also proposed converting an HLS Starship into a space station for the CLD program. However, the proposal was turned down based on a lack of definition for the concept, such as external payload accommodation, payload capability, and business strategy. Plus, it is also highly dependent on HLS being a success without addressing it as a risk. Nonetheless, NASA didn't fail to acknowledge the strengths of SpaceX's proposal, which include, among others, the proven speed, safety, and systems engineering in vehicle manufacturing, a robust approach to future commercial communications, including the maturity of Starlink and its lack of dependence on outside suppliers, plus strong financial resources, which increase the likelihood of successful execution in the event of cost overruns. And I don't think this is the last time we will hear about a Starship space station. I think they will keep working on further developing the concept, unless they decide to go for a bigger super orbital station on their own, which why not? I mean, they are capable of flipping 50-meter tall rockets mid-air and landing them softly on the ground, so I guess not even the sky is the limit for them. And since I already mentioned Starlink, let's jump right into the next piece of news. Elon Musk just announced the new Starlink performance antenna. It's called Starlink Premium, and it has more than double the antenna capability of a normal Starlink, delivering faster internet speeds and higher throughput. SpaceX will begin sending out the first deliveries in the second quarter of this year. Continuing with SpaceX, things are ramping up at Starbase. Ship 20 has been patiently waiting before the orbital launch tower since last week, waiting for what seems to be a lift and stacking test. Booster 4 seems to be on its way as well, as the load spreader that is needed to lift it has been attached to the SpaceX crane as I am recording this, so by the time you see this, you will probably already know what has happened. But everything points at an imminent lift of both Ship 20 and Booster 4, and I honestly can't wait for it to finally happen. Next, the SLS rollout for the wet dress rehearsal has been delayed from February the 15th to sometime in March. NASA has added additional time to complete final closeout activities and flight termination system testing ahead of the wet dress rehearsal. Quote, teams are taking operations a step at a time to ensure the integrated system is ready to safely launch the Artemis 1 mission. NASA is reviewing launch opportunities in April and May, so that's a pity. I am really looking forward to this launch as well, but I guess better safe than rushing it out. Blue Origin is celebrating the successful fairing separation test of its New Glenn rocket, which are the two halves that make up the rocket's 7-meter tall nose cone and which protect the customer's payload during launch. This test validated the acoustics, cleanliness, and environment of the fairing. The company Astra is targeting February the 5th to launch its 3.3 rocket from Space Launch Complex 46 at Cape Canaveral, carrying 4 CubeSats to space under a Venture-class launch services contract. These CubeSats, which are a small type of satellite, were developed by 3 different universities as well as one NASA center. Finally, after multiple delays due to unfavorable weather and intruding ships, SpaceX's Falcon 9 rocket managed to launch its CSG-2 mission from Space Launch Complex 40 at Cape Canaveral, carrying a satellite into orbit for the Italian Space Agency. This was the first time that the booster used in this mission has flown on its own, since so far it had only been used as a side booster of Falcon Heavy. It also was the 4th SpaceX launch for this year, and it looks like they are well on their way to reaching their goal of 52 launches in 2022. As always, this launch was yet again perfectly seamless, with the first stage of the rocket making yet another astonishing landing on the landing zone number 1 at Cape Canaveral. The footage we got to see of this launch was particularly stunning because it happened shortly after the sun had set down at ground level, but since the rocket climbed up to 81 kilometers in altitude, we were able to see the sun rays hitting the rocket and really brightening it up. And these sun rays also allowed for a pretty spectacular show, since we were able to see the exhaust gases coming out of the engines very clearly, including the tiny gas pulses coming from the gas thrusters that the booster uses to orient itself on its way back to the ground. The next launch will happen today, probably around the time I release this video, which will be carrying a national security payload to orbit for the National Reconnaissance Office and will launch from Vandenberg Space Force Base.